Welcome to another edition of Just Facts Combat, where we break down the truth behind combat sports. This week, we're discussing a rematch that many, myself included, aren't too excited about. The only ones who seem to want it are Vettori and Roman, and they both have their reasons. Their first fight was one-sided, with Roman dominating Vettori across the octagon. However, the fight took place in Europe, where the local crowd gave Vettori the home advantage, and many believe the judges' scorecards were influenced by the European crowd, resulting in a controversial decision in Vettori's favor. Roman will likely want to fight in a neutral location to avoid another potential robbery. As for Vettori, after spending time away from the octagon, he'll want to avenge that loss, and what better way to return after 2 years off than with a rematch? We'll see who comes out on top. As for the opening fight on the card, we have a female strawweight bout between Yuneisy Duben and Carli Judice. I'm picking Judice to win this one. Despite her limited experience, Carli Judice has shown impressive skill, particularly in her fight with Gabrielle Hernandez, a loss that has aged well. Judice has elite striking for someone at her level, and she's proven to be tough and resilient. I expect this to be a striking battle since neither fighter is particularly known for their grappling. Duben, while powerful, lacks the technical polish of Judice. I believe Judice will pick Duben apart, making her pay for every missed strike, and ultimately secure a clear unanimous decision. A finish seems unlikely, as women's MMA often doesn't end in finishes, so I'm expecting a dominant decision victory for Judice. This fight is a striker's dream. Barez brings relentless pressure and sharp boxing, while Lima showcases high-level Muay Thai and devastating kicks. Barez has the power edge and will be the bigger threat early, but Lima's ability to fight off the back foot makes him a dangerous counter-striker. His leg and body kicks will be Barez's biggest problem, likely slowing down his pressure over time. Lima may struggle early, but once he finds his rhythm, he'll pick Barez apart at range. Barez has the potential to drop Lima if he catches an unguarded kick, something he did effectively against Altamirano. However, Lima has a higher fight IQ and is more calculated with his strikes, making it harder for Barez to capitalize. If Lima survives the early power shots, I see him taking over and winning by unanimous decision. Prediction: Andre Lima by unanimous decision. I believe Sam Hughes has a very winnable fight ahead of her. She possesses the skills and style needed to secure a victory. While Luciano is a solid striker, she is vulnerable defensively, often relying on her height and range to avoid damage. Like many Brazilian fighters, she's too hittable and struggles with her takedown defense. Just look at how easily she was taken down by Alencar. While Luciano's ability to work her way up from the bottom is decent, as seen in her rematch with Alencar, Sam Hughes is a much better wrestler. If Hughes takes her to the ground, I believe she can keep her there and control the position. Hughes has excellent cardio and can maintain a fast pace throughout the fight, something Luciano struggles with. We've seen Luciano tire when pushed into high-intensity exchanges, which plays right into Sam's strengths. That's why I'm picking Hughes to win. When Hughes is confident, she's a force to be reckoned with, but when she lacks that confidence, she can become passive and force takedowns from out of range. At her best, however, Hughes blends pressure, striking, and grappling seamlessly, overwhelming fighters who need a slower pace. She's already derailed a few hype trains this way, and her recent performance against Dudikova was impressive, especially considering many expected her to lose. While Luciano's grappling isn't quite at Dudikova's level, her cardio and striking are better, so this will be a tougher fight for Sam. Nonetheless, I still think it's a very winnable matchup, with my final prediction being a decision win for Sam Hughes. This fight features two hungry contenders eager to make a statement in a classic grappler versus striker matchup. Vera is a pure grappler, relying almost entirely on his jiu-jitsu. He fights like a bantamweight Kron Gracie but is older, with limited striking and little to no wrestling. At 37, it's unlikely he adds significant stand-up or even effective takedowns to his game. In all available footage, he rarely shoots for takedowns, making his ability to get the fight to the ground questionable. However, he excels in scrambles and rolling attacks, particularly for leg locks. If Musasa rushes in recklessly, Vera could capitalize and secure a submission. Musasa, on the other hand, is a heavy-handed finisher who relentlessly pressures opponents, hunting for the knockout. His aggression can sometimes put him in bad positions, but he has shown solid cardio, strong takedown defense, and enough grappling awareness to avoid danger. Given Vera's lack of offensive wrestling, Musasa likely won't have to engage in a grappling exchange unless he chooses to. If Vera pulls guard, Musasa should be smart enough to disengage, and without a clean entry, Vera becomes a sitting duck for a KO. His kicks won't be enough to deter the durable Musasa, who has walked through strikes before. While it's a low-confidence pick, I'm siding with Josias Musasa to finish Vera within 2 rounds. A decision win for Musasa isn't out of the question, but I strongly expect a stoppage. The theme of this fight is toughness, a defining trait for both fighters. Cunningham's toughness stems from a brutal upbringing, abuse, forced steroid use, and being made to fight his own siblings or sleep outside if he refused. His resilience is a driving force in his fights. Seung-Woo, on the other hand, grew up in Korea, where toughness is ingrained in daily life. Mandatory military service and a culture of discipline forge both physical and mental resilience, which reflects in his fighting style. As for the fight, I lean towards Seung-Woo. While Cunningham's toughness is more mental than physical, his aggressive, high-volume style leaves him too open to strikes. His lack of defense, tendency to slow down in longer fights, and reliance on overwhelming opponents rather than strategic execution make him vulnerable. Instead of using his reach and volume to pick opponents apart, he engages in battles of attrition he isn't physically durable enough to win. Seung-Woo, by contrast, applies his toughness more effectively. He knows when to push forward and when to control the distance, making better use of his range. I see him dictating the pace, landing clean shots at will, and mixing in grappling when Cunningham overcommits. His striking power and durability, evident even when fighting off the back foot, make this a tough matchup for Cunningham. I predict Seung-Woo will wear Cunningham down, securing a finish within 2 rounds via TKO or submission. If not, he wins a dominant decision. Either way, the clear pick is Seung-Woo. Ryan Spann moves up to heavyweight to face Waldo Cortes-Acosta, a boxer who often relies on stick-and-move tactics to win decisions. While Acosta occasionally puts more power behind his strikes, he usually reverts to his usual style. Spann, who fights similarly, should be able to outwork him and exploit Acosta's one-dimensional skill set, especially his lack of grappling. The last time Acosta attempted any grappling was against Duben, who had no business being in the UFC and was there mainly due to his Olympic striking pedigree. I don't see many threats from Acosta outside of his size and boxing, which might help him keep Spann at bay. However, I expect Spann to work his jab, close the distance, and secure takedowns. Once on the mat, Spann has a strong chance to finish, whether by submission or ground and pound. If Acosta survives, Spann should still control him en route to a decision. Final prediction: Ryan Spann via submission or decision, though a TKO is also in play if Acosta fades and struggles off his back. Spann is the pick. This fight should be a wild scrap, likely ending with someone getting finished. That's just the nature of how both guys fight. Choi is a technical striker who likes to work at range and throws impressive volume for his size. He's aggressive, loves a brawl, and has nasty leg kicks, but overall, he's a limited fighter, just like his opponent, Vallejos. Both prefer a technical fight, but their aggression guarantees fiery exchanges in the pocket, with neither backing down. The key difference? Vallejos has slightly better defense. He knows when to step back and protect himself when hurt, something Choi still struggles with. Choi can fight smart, but once he's rocked, he abandons defense and swings recklessly with his chin exposed, even when badly hurt. That makes him a prime target for Vallejos, who excels in the pocket, picking his shots and landing accurate counters. His boxing and precision are sharper than Choi's, which should lead to him landing the cleaner, harder shots as Choi charges in. I see Vallejos breaking Choi down and finishing him in the 2nd or 3rd round. Choi has had time to recover since his last TKO loss to Steve Garcia, who beat him in a similar fashion. He had success with leg kicks in that fight but couldn't survive long enough to capitalize. I see history repeating itself. Choi fights smart until he's hurt, then goes out guns blazing. Final prediction: Vallejos by TKO or decision, but I'm leaning toward a finish. A light heavyweight clash between undefeated Kazakh prospect Diyar Nurgozhay and dangerous Brazilian finisher Brendson Ribeiro. Both have clear paths to victory, making this an interesting stylistic matchup. That said, I think Ribeiro is overrated and shouldn't be in the UFC. He lost his last fight and was gifted a blatant robbery against an opponent who, in my opinion, is also mediocre and UFC level at best. Against Caio, once he couldn't secure an early KO, he had no answers for volume and movement. Diyar is a more refined version of Caio with a similar style. While Ribeiro's best shot is an early KO, I see Diyar avoiding the power as the fight progresses. Ribeiro doesn't set up his shots well and will likely run into counters before getting taken down. I expect Diyar to mix up his striking, pick Ribeiro apart at range, and control him on the ground to secure a clear decision. I also wouldn't rule out a late submission if Diyar can wear him down. Final prediction: Diyar Nurgozhay via submission or decision. This fight is closer than the odds suggest. Gibson has the skill set to trouble Blackshear. He's the cleaner offensive striker, and while both have defensive flaws, Gibson does a slightly better job protecting himself. Both are volume-based strikers without much power, so expect a high-paced, technical fight. Blackshear has the edge in grappling, but not by much. Gibson is the better wrestler, an area where Blackshear has shown vulnerabilities. However, Blackshear's Muay Thai base could pose problems for Gibson in the pocket. Given their similar height, Gibson won't be able to fight effectively off the back foot. As a boxer, he'll likely stay in the pocket, where Blackshear can capitalize. I expect this fight to hit the mat at some point. If Gibson uses his wrestling to keep Blackshear grounded, it could be risky given his suspect submission defense. Blackshear can exploit that. Prediction: Blackshear by submission in the mid to late rounds or by decision. That said, Gibson could outstrike him and use his wrestling to sway the judges, making this a risky pick. Either man can win. The UFC presents a clash of inconsistency, with both fighters following similar career trajectories. While Alexander Hernandez is younger than Holobaugh, he also alternates wins and losses. However, this matchup favors Hernandez. He's faster, more explosive, and carries early knockout power. Kurt, a high-pressure fighter, is hittable and often fights just outside range, relying on counters. Against a younger, stronger Hernandez, that could be a costly mistake. If he's not careful, Kurt may get stopped early. That said, Hernandez's cardio is a concern. He tends to fade, which could allow Kurt to take over if he forces a high pace. However, Hernandez's wrestling can nullify Kurt's elite grappling. Kurt struggles with defensive wrestling, often playing off his back instead of scrambling to his feet. Expect Hernandez to follow a strategy similar to Kurt's fight against Trey Ogden: start fast with power shots, then mix in takedowns to conserve energy and control the pace. Holobaugh has power, but trading early could be risky. I see Hernandez pressuring, securing takedowns, and dictating the fight. Prediction: Alexander Hernandez by TKO or decision. Chidi Njokuani is a frustrating fighter to support. He has the power to put most opponents away, but his poor fight IQ and decision-making often cost him. He tends to play into his opponent's strengths rather than capitalize on his own, as seen in his fight against RoboCop, where he engaged in a grappling battle instead of finishing with strikes after severely hurting him. That lack of awareness led to him getting finished instead. Can Njokuani land a knockout blow early? Absolutely. That's why picking Dos Santos comes with some risk. However, Njokuani's absent-minded approach to fighting makes him little more than a KO threat. I believe Dos Santos can weather the danger and still get the win. Despite being 40, Dos Santos has looked impressive in recent years, securing solid victories over younger, dangerous opponents. He has the tools to outstrike Njokuani, who doesn't throw much but hits hard when he does. Dos Santos' movement, kicks, and speed should pose problems for the bigger Njokuani, who is used to slower middleweights. His grappling could also be key. Njokuani likely won't do enough to keep him off once the fight hits the mat. I see Dos Santos taking Njokuani's back or securing a takedown, leading to a submission in the second or third round. However, the safer bet is a clear unanimous decision. That said, the submission prop for Dos Santos deserves respect. The rematch nobody asked for is here. Vettori, who has looked subpar in his last 3 outings, lost their first fight convincingly. He didn't win a single round. Roman Dolidze dominated the fight, only to be robbed of a well-deserved victory. Vettori was also beaten by both Whitaker and Cannonier, making him 0-3 in his last 3 bouts. He's been inactive since mid-2023, almost 2 years ago. Meanwhile, Dolidze has been active and on a winning streak, with his only loss a close decision to Imavov. That loss has aged well, as Imavov is now a contender, possibly even a title challenger after his KO win over Adesanya. In their first fight, Roman was too fast for Vettori, landing strikes, avoiding counters, and pushing the pace. Vettori had minimal impact. I expect a similar outcome here. Yes, the break may have helped Vettori adjust, but I don't think he'll make significant changes. His defense remains a weakness, and I still believe Dolidze is the superior striker and wrestler. Roman will aim to avoid another robbery. Vettori's toughness and chin are his biggest assets, but given his long layoff, they may be less effective in this fight. Dolidze could have an easier time hurting him. Despite being younger and rested, I still see Vettori surviving to a decision, even after taking a beating. My pick is Roman Dolidze to win again, this time without being robbed.